Welcome to Chris Strub Unmuted. I'm Chris Strub, and today we're talking about self-publishing. There really is not a much better way for you to take your message, your story, and make it really feel permanent than to put it in your hand. This is Chris Strub Unmuted, a show designed for open dialogue, honest reflection, and uncensored truth about the lives that we lead. Today's episode looks at self-publishing. It's honestly one of the biggest things that people ask me about over the years when I tell them that I have published 4 books, and here they are. First book that I wrote is called 50 States, 100 Days, the book. Probably going to do an entire set of episodes just about the stories from within that book. But there's 3 more. If you know me for 50 States, 100 Days, you should also know and check out Fight for Good Tour, the book about my journey with the Salvation Army USA back in 2017. Book number 3 is called 15 Seconds of Fame, which I published in 2021, I think. And then this is the most recent book that I published last year, 2024, Grandpa Charlie's Cookbook, written in conjunction with my dad. In fact, it's got my dad's byline on there, and I'm the editor. Self-publishing a book is incredibly fulfilling. You know, I did another episode that you should check out talking about legacy and how 50 States, 100 Days right now, late 25 into 2026, really represents my legacy. And there really is not a much better way for you to take your message, your story, and make it really feel permanent than to put it in your hand. I think one thing that a lot of people get hung up on with writing their own book is simply getting started. As sad as that sounds, you don't really know where to begin. The simple truth is you start writing. And if you've read 50 States, 100 Days, the book, you probably get that vibe. This book was sit down, write, start to finish. I read through it and edited it myself, and then sent it to Amazon for self-publishing. So when we talk about the process of creating a book, think about what is not being said in that sentence, right? We're not necessarily having to seek out a massive publisher. We're not seeking a distribution deal. We're not seeking a publicity tour of any kind. 50 States, 100 Days actually was turned into a film afterwards, which was incredibly cool, but that was not the intention when the book was written, and I hadn't even met Ross Woods, who is the producer of the film. So all of those extra things that you associate with creating a book, none of those should be roadblocks for you to get started with what you're trying to accomplish, which is to have a book, full stop. Right? A lot of people, especially as you get older, you think about how cool it would be to have a book that reflects who you are, your legacy, your memory. I want you to think about who the audience for that book is, right? This book that we put together, my dad and I put together, is about as simple and as uncomplicated as can be. It's actually done a little bit differently. I wanted to create a book that has the spirals, so it could really function as a true cookbook in someone's kitchen. So it's published a little bit differently than the other books that I've written. But when we think about the audience for a book like this, thinking about 1 or 2 people in particular, and those would be my kids, and then ideally maybe my grandkids. When I sit and talk to my dad about his father and his father's father, we have done the DNA test and stuff and really thought about the history of our family. And what would you do to know more about your great-grandfather or your great-great-grandfather, right? Could you imagine if your great-great-grandfather had written a book and now you could pick up that book and learn directly from someone in your family tree way above you like that. That is the goal for this book. Not to try and sell 1 billion copies. And sorry, Papa Doc, I don't know that this book is ever going to sell it, hit the bestsellers list. It should, because my dad is the best chef I've ever met, makes incredible stuff. And in this cookbook, he has shared all of his favorite recipes. But it really took a lot of discipline to get him to sit down and write. We wrote a lot of it together. I had him sit down with a pen and paper here. I actually have that here in front of me. We can plan this out, but in this pad here are, see if I can find it here on the fly, are some of the recipes that my dad wrote for the book. And to be able to sit down, anyone can buy a pad of paper like this and write down your gift. What is the gift that you can share with the world? Whether it's your life story, whether it's recipes like this beef barley soup. These are invaluable to the people that you have influenced and you have connected with in your life, right? I'm not sitting here pretending like Grandpa Charlie's cookbook is going to take off and enter into every kitchen in America. And that's why the book exists. And it's not just an idea in our heads anymore. It's here in my hand. And if you want one, message me. I'll send you the link to order a copy of your own. Grandpa Charlie's cookbook. If you're just listening, it says recipes from a lifetime of serving Long Island. That's what it is. My dad was a chef for decades and decades at tons of different places around Long Island. And now we're able to permanently bring forward those memories and those ideas to future generations. It's the same thing with 50 States, 100 Days and Fight for Good Tour the book, which, by the way, is just objectively a better written book than my first book. Both of these books are about crazy journeys that I took in the car that I call the Honda Hotel. You can see it if you're watching the video on the cover of 50 States, 100 Days. 2007 Honda Accord. And I was able to really permanently preserve and share a lot of those memories from those journeys in the pages of those books. Listen, you don't need to go on a 50-state, 100-day journey to have a story that's worth sharing. It's really important to hear that and to understand that whatever value and experiences you've picked up on over the years. This is Chris Strub Unmuted. This is my opportunity to share with you a lot of the stories that I've been part of and experienced over the years. But you too have stories to tell. And putting it together in a book is a great way to do it. The other book in my, what's the word for a 4-part trilogy, right? Someone can put that in the comments. 15 Seconds of Fame is a book that I wrote having been cooped up in my apartment due to COVID. This is the COVID book. I think it's really well written. I talk about the age of endless vertical scrolling on social media is dead. Long live the era of short-lived horizontal scrolling stories. I'm really proud of that book. It's filled with stories from people that really do a great job on specifically Instagram sharing their stories. And for our audio only listeners here, you can see photos of me with each of these folks and these people that I've met in real life who I can stay connected with through social media, through their ephemeral storytelling skills. You learn about the way that they, in the case of Gather Greenville and Matrix Chiropractic, these folks are building their business using these ephemeral storytelling tools. But we'll save the story of the book itself and those stories within for another day and another episode. What's important today is to emphasize how valuable it is for you to make the decision to sit down and start writing. The process of self-publishing, and I use KDP on Amazon, is a really simple, straightforward way to do it. It's pretty straightforward. It's a little tricky to figure out, but there's nothing really that's a true hindrance to publishing a book. And then when it comes to cover design and stuff like that, again, you can see in the first version of 50 States, 100 Days, the book, it's just a giant blown up version of my logo is really what it is. The back jacket of the book here is just some quotes about the stories within. And that's really all it takes, guys. There's nothing unsolvable about the mystery of self-publishing. You go onto Amazon KDP, and what's really stopping you from having a book is not the technology that it requires. It's not the complicated process of self-publishing. It's not the lack of a publisher. What's stopping you from having a book of your own is yourself. That's it. That's it. Right? So I am thrilled and honored and overjoyed to have achieved the goal of publishing 4 books. Now, have they sold 1 trillion copies? No. Have they had meaningful impact on the people that have read each of those books? Absolutely. Absolutely they have. And to me, that's success. This goes back to this constant theme of Chris Strub Unmuted, which is not about chasing numbers. This is not a video game where we're trying to climb and climb and climb and climb and climb. If you're hearing these messages and these ideas and they're having an impact on you, mission accomplished. And it's the same thing with each of those books. I'd love for you to check them out. If you go to Amazon, type in Chris Strub, 50 States, 100 Days, Fight for Good Toward the Book, 15 Seconds of Fame, or Grandpa Charlie's Cookbook. Each of those books you can purchase. I'm happy to also figure out a way to get them signed for you. If you'd rather buy a signed copy from me, just get in touch on social media or via email, or if you live in Greenville, just ask me. I'll get you one. But know that your legacy really can be memorialized in a really unique way if you do choose to pursue this path of self-publishing. And let this episode of Chris Strub Unmuted be that influence. Let this be that push to you to get started. And if I can help you along the way, if you need any direct encouragement, you know how to reach me. Thanks for listening to Chris Strub Unmuted. Support the show by clicking like and subscribe. Keep up with me on social media at Chris Strub. And remember, we are all famous to a few people.